I mentioned yesterday that the Exalted Great Unclean One is a pretty strong tool, and that definitely is the case, especially against factions which don't have missiles. The main reason being, he is an actual, what we would call Mortis engine, right? AoE drain passive effect. If he's in melee, he'll get a constant 16 to 32 damage per second in area of effect around him. This has a huge effect, especially on infantry and cavalry blobs. Those of you who have played Warhammer 1 and 2 will well know, like the Skaven Plague Furnace or the Vampire Count's Mortis Engine, which is what this effect is kind of named after, colloquially, within the community. It's very, very strong, especially against factions which primarily rely on melee grinding. Now, Turn and I have played this matchup a few times, and, he wrecked me with the Great Unclean One once, but then also wrecked me in reverse with the double Bloodthirster build. Now, this was actually before I did my testing stream that we fought this battle, but I was already kind of thinking, like, the Soul Grinder offers a lot of the upside of the regular Bloodthirster with some downsides and other, better upsides, primarily the fact that it can actually capture points. Not to mention it still has flaming magic damage, which is going to be really important for these two to team up and keep that flaming damage up on the Exalted Great Unclean One, so I can actually try and snipe him, which is very difficult to do, but it can be done. We've also got two dual warriors, dual hand weapon warriors here, shield warriors as my starting force, 2 spawn in reserve with 2 exalted bloodletters, 3 dual axe warriors, 1 regular bloodletter, and 4 flesh hounds. Figured the elite anti-infantry and again the flaming damage of the exalted bloodletters could come in handy here, perhaps. We'll see. Exalted Great Unclean One for turn. He's got 3 Nurglings, a spawn, a rot fly, and a plague bear on his initial force. Reinforcements: 3 rot flies, 2 chaos furies, 3 forsaken, 2 beasts of Nurgle, a spawn of Nurgle, 2 plague toads, and 2 more Nurglings. We are once again on the Eye in the North map. That is my biggest criticism right now, honestly, of Domination mode, if you really want to know, is a lack of maps. I think there really just needs to be more maps, which is a pretty good problem to have, honestly, all things considered. It's really too early to comment too much on balance. Every faction's been winning, though. I mean, Cathay was a little bit tricky for us to figure it out, but I think, Anticity's experience playing Vampire Coast sort of helped us as a group to solve the problem of Cathay, and now at least I feel pretty confident, at least to a degree, with most factions. Not in every single matchup, I still think there's going to be bad matchups, definitely, but just in general, I think I'm getting a better handle on things right now, and the balance seems okay. I don't know, again, I definitely don't have, we need thousands and thousands of games played between lots of players and everything to try and get a handle on where the balance is. But anyway, we're going to come in here. The Soul Grinder very fast, 75 speed, can move up and just, not secure the center objective, but you know what I mean, secure it. Likewise, Bloodthirster just hanging around the periphery here, 70 attack, 580 weapon strength, definitely on par with something like a big dragon. But the Exalted Great Unclean One getting in here, Bell out for a great time. Turn's got to be a little bit careful, though. He is getting a little bit separated from his support. He needs to fight with the spawn, in a surround on the Exalted Great Unclean One, because right now, yeah, he gets singled out here, and 2v1, this is going to be really bad engagement for the poor Great Unclean One. Again, he's got his fire damage. He does cast Curse of the Leper to do a little bit of damage reflection, but that's not going to do much to single entities because damage reflection is a flat value. The reinforcements do come in, though. The spawn and the Nurglings getting in here. Spawn, in particular, decent weapon strength, can do damage to these 90 armor demons. Okay, it's not going to be great, but Beast of Nurgle also coming in for some additional AP. My warriors are also moving in. The rot flies are doing their best to try and keep them away from the point. But they can only do so much. The warriors eventually will get through. Dual hand weapons are going to be able to just blend through these Nurglings in a big hurry. And then the shield should be able to hold for some time, but had to get my Bloodthirster back up in the air to continue to cycle charge. Again, the Soul Grinder kind of acting as the hammer, and the Bloodthirster acting as the anvil. That land animation bug is one thing that they really do need to get resolved. That's probably, in terms of battle, I would say the biggest bug issue that I've seen. Finally, the Bloodthirster does land, though, and ooh, nice little stagger there on the Soul Grinder. But just a big old nasty blob fight, which you would think could potentially benefit a Nurgle, but at the same time, Khornes can stand and grind just fine, especially with a little rear charge in here coming in from the Fleshhounds. More importantly, all I need to do is really just finish off this Exalted Great Unclean One. He's popped Fleshy Abundance, but because he's on fire, that healing amount will be reduced by 50%. So really important that I keep these the Grinder and the Exalted Bloodthirster fighting. Again, just continuing to cycle charge the Thirster. Since I have the ability to fly and the mobility advantage, why not take advantage of that charge bonus? 55 charge bonus is definitely significant enough that you'd want to cycle charge. But objective secured wise, you can see that because I have 3 infantry plus the hounds and more hounds on the point, I mean, the spawn are counting for quite a bit, but all the Nurglings are gone, so I have quite a bit more capture power here. Really nice Blight Boil, though, just comes in and absolutely nukes my warriors here, leads to them getting terrified, so great magic cast from Turin. I also, managed to get some Fleshhounds down here securing. We've got the Plague Bearers over there securing that point. I somehow secured it, I guess, with the Hounds earlier. I must not have highlighted that on camera and totally forgot that I did it, but we did manage to get him briefly 2-capped. Although it didn't give me any tickets, though. That's weird. No, I guess we didn't actually cap it. We just almost pretended to cap it and then came in and rear charged with the Hounds. That's right. It's all coming back to me now. That being said, in the center, you can see that the Exalted Great Unclean One is, in fact, finished. So the snipe attempt has worked, and that is a huge amount of value that Turin has lost in the early phase of the battle. I mean, the points are just barely coming online, and he does have the center objective secured now, having pushed off all of my Chaos Warriors, but we've got Bloodletters coming in, we've got more dual hand weapon warriors coming in. The Hounds are also flanking up and around, and I'm going to try and guard Turin close to his deployment. One thing about Nurgle is because they're very slow, definitely the slowest faction currently in game, if you can guard them close to their deployment zone and hold them in that position, you can keep them away from the capture points, and even if you end up losing, it'll just take them so long to get to the capture points that you can often end up winning on victory tickets. But Beast of Nurgle definitely cannot stand up to the big angry Bloodthirster. I think the Soul Grinder actually ended up keeling over. It had just taken too much damage from the Exalted Great Unclean One, but still a very cost-effective trade for me. I mean, that's a 1900 cost monster versus a 3000 cost minimum lord, right? So, and Bloodthirster survived, so that's, all that matters for me. Survived is maybe putting it a little bit lightly, too. He is thriving, just absolutely thriving in this giant melee, really where he was meant to live. And the Plague Bearers now very slowly making their way over here. We've got some regrouped dual-hand weapon warriors just to come back and pressure. And I'm also bringing in some spawn. Or nope, they're coming back around. Spawn of Khorne are the damage spawn. Yeah, they're also going to be sent down just to attack those Plague Bearers and again, kind of guard them away from the objective. 190 weapon strength is absolutely ridiculous. 143 base weapon damage. I mean, these guys have more base weapon damage than other variants of spawn do total weapon damage, right? Which is kind of insane. Considering that the Plague Bears only have 25 armor, they're definitely going to take a lot of damage from the spawn. I mean, the spawn will take damage in return too, though, don't get me wrong. 48 weapon strength on the Plague Bears. That poison also will help mitigate some of that high weapon damage, but the angry spawn are still quite good in my opinion. As I mentioned quite a bit recently, I'm just a huge fan of all the spawns for all the Chaos factions. Especially now with the support of these dual hand weapon warriors getting in there, they should definitely be able to out-trade. Beast of Nurgle going down to the Exalted Bloodthirster. And we've got some Forsaken and Nurglings moving in for Khorne here. But question is, will it end up working? Forsaken coming back from route. We're still pretty far behind on points because I hadn't secured this center objective until like just now, really, I think. I don't know. But Turin is, a 900 points, 900 tickets ahead. And he's now moving some forces in to secure point number 3. So even though I've done way more army damage to him, he's still keeping me on my toes in terms of deployments and, sending forces to the appropriate area. We're going to move these warriors in as there's not really a lot of threat to this center location anymore. We can definitely keep these Plague Bearers and the rest of the Forsaken here guarded and secured with these troops that are already there. So other warriors can be detached to come in. We've also got more spawn. Yes, that's right. More angry spawn moving in to try and get after those rusty dusty Forsaken. Lots of Furies coming in here too. Bloodthirster's making his way over. That's one great thing about the Bloodthirster. Is the flying mobility is quite strong. Scarbrand, don't get me wrong, is pretty good too. But he wouldn't have been able to cycle charge the Great Unclean One in the same way, which is why I would say, you would think like, oh, Soul Grinder plus Scarbrand, right? That's two grounded single entities that both can capture. But I think the benefit of flying, again, the fact that you can cycle charge, especially on a tight sort of capture point like this, like I could fly over this impassable area and then fly back in and just keep that charge bonus going. Just allows me to sort of guarantee that I'll be able to finish off that Greater Unclean One a little bit better than if I were just using Scarbrand and the Soul Grinder. But anyway, Nurgle Forsaken are no match for the elite forces I brought in here, and the Nurglings also just end up getting crumbled away. So there you go. Still not ahead on the points, but that's sort of Nurgle for you, right? They secure objectives incredibly well. And once they're on an objective, it can be pretty hard to push them off of it. So I want to make sure that I maintain capture on these two that I have. See if I can take the lead here. More than that, too. Again, maybe go for the 3 cap here. As these Fleshhounds move in to just send those poor Nurglings flying. Oh, the Nurglings' attack animations, once again, just make me so happy. They're just so much fun. And the giant blood fish dog things are, they're here to play. It's just a grand old time. I'm sure both are having a great time, to be honest. But, yeah, now got some forces again. Just moving over to the deployment zone of Turin to try and guard him forward. Not allow him to bring in any reinforcements. And we'll probably fast forward. Not yet. I have re-brought in the Soul Grinder, though. Again, pretty fast speed. Can crawl over here with its mechanical legs. And just help support, give that elite presence. Even still, though, I'm just barely about to pull ahead on capture. Oh yeah, literally, like, just barely about to pull ahead. So that goes to show, I mean, the objective securing is definitely super important. Like, don't get too caught up just killing your opponent's army. Although, yes, that is something that you should be doing, absolutely. You need to make sure you're on top of those capture points and maintaining your infantry there. Anyway. Yeah, the Exalted Bloodthirster moving over. I'm content to just keep most of my forces back for the time being, so we probably will fast forward a little bit through this one. As, I mean, at this point, Turin really has like 1,200 points worth of units left on the field. He doesn't have the points to try and bring anything else back in. I think he might have been trying to save for the Exalted Great Unclean One again, but he's just... at this point, just like, okay, well, I should at least try and maintain this 1 point to keep it close. Throw in some more Nurglings here, throw in some more Furies, but even just with the Bloodhounds and with the Soul Grinder here. Let's see, Soul Grinder. There we go, a little shotgun shooting attack. His little hand cannon, so to speak. Gonna generate some good value. I mean, maybe. Or he might just sit here and watch. Let the boy watch. Let the grinder watch. The Bloodthirster just murder, hundreds of Nurglings. It's interesting to note, I think there's, 8 Nurglings per pile? Let's see. Is it possible for us to count live? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. No, okay. Let's say there's, 8 Nurglings per pile, right? That means in a unit of 60, what is that? 6 times 8, that's what, 48? So, 480? Nurglings per unit? Is my math completely wrong? I should probably never ever try and do math live on video because it always ends up being hilariously wrong. But anyway. Yeah, the Plague Toads coming in here. They're going to get some fight with the Bloodletters. A couple of Angry Spawn left too, although they do go down in a pretty big hurry. More Plague Bears moving in here. Here comes the Exalted Bloodthirster, though, and the Blood Spawn. The Skull Spawn. What do you think? Blood Spawn or Skull Spawn? It's got to be one of the two, right? I mean, they don't actually have skulls anymore, I don't think. So let's go with Blood Spawn. Dual Hand Weapon Warrior is also going to be collapsing back down in. Toads are definitely awesome, too. Their unit models make me quite happy, and their attack animations are amazing. Unfortunately, they can't stand up to all this heavy pressure. managed to defeat the Nurglings there and are now securing point number 1. Not that it matters too much. I'm now still only 900 points ahead, but I am well enough ahead. Turin's just so far behind on army that he's not going to be able to come back on this, so. Oof. Nice hit there. And we'll just let the, let the Khorne boys finish it out here in cinematic fashion. Those warriors just marching ever slowly over this direction. They are technically running, moving fast. Let's not call it running. The game itself is like, nah, they're not running. They're just moving fast. Okay, now they're running. Now that they actually hit their charge animation, you can move in here and just start to absolutely cut sickly boys into gross little bits. And there it is. Good game to Turin. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. It's definitely a interesting matchup. I don't know, I need to play around with it a little bit more, but Khorne just being so good, like such good stats in a sustained fight, if they can kind of sit and fight on their terms, they will definitely win in a grind against Nurgle. But at the same time, if Nurgle can fight on their terms, which is to kind of spread things out a little bit, not necessarily take like a 2v1, for example. It can be tricky because of the lack of mobility, but I think Turin, had he just kept the spawn a little bit closer, maybe even bring in, rather than this unit of rotflies, which didn't do a lot for him, bring in a second unit of spawn, the mass blocking and just the extra kind of killing power of the spawn would have helped that Exalted Great Unclean one. Likewise, I mean, I didn't 100% see the Beast of Nurgle. If he was able to develop both of them and bring them into that single entity fight, that would have definitely helped swing things in his favor, going, 3v2. Even though these guys are only 800 cost, together they could definitely help deal with the Soul Grinder, who did not even necessarily pay for himself, but definitely made back a ton of value. Exalted Bloodthirster, though, 5,286 value. This guy is a super scary monster if used correctly. Dual hand weapon warriors also, again, don't pay for themselves, but they definitely got blight boiled, so it's okay. The shield warriors did pay for themselves. Didn't end up using the exalted bloodletters, but the spawn of Khorne were all right as well. Fleshhounds, just excellent mobile pressure. Fleshhounds are honestly one of the best units on Khorne's roster. 700 cost for a kind of really strong, fast attack like cavalry unit is really good. For Nurgle here, the Rotflies Turin kept bringing them in. I'm just not sure about that. I think maybe just going with more spawns again would have been more beneficial. They could help tank and help secure the points as well. Maybe going with some more Plague Bearers, although, I don't know, the Plague Bearers he did bring in did end up getting worn away pretty quickly, so hard to say. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.